He got to see the inner workings of a small brand and a mega brand, and this helped plant the seed of what's to come next. What's up guys, my name's Levi, this is Shred Shop Connect You to Skateboarding, and today we're doing the story of Uma Landsleds. Over the last few years, it seems like new brands are kind of popping up everywhere, and it's very hard for them to stand out or do something different. But one of the brands that keeps catching our eye is Uma Landsleds. They have a pretty eccentric name, they always feature really unique artwork, and they have a small but well-curated team. So we're interested by the company, why it started, who owns it, and the story behind the name. So we sat down with Evan Smith to get the scoop. But in order to talk about Uma, we first have to talk about Evan Smith, the owner and the frontman of the brand. Since there was such a low-key vibe to it, we didn't know who owned the brand. It turns out it's Evan Smith. So let's rewind back to the start because it better help sculpt the story and the enigma that is Evan Smith. Evan had kind of a turbulent upbringing and he ended up living on the streets of Florida as a teen. He eventually finds skateboarding and he felt most at home with the crew of misfits that is skateboarding. When he's 15, the Listen Skateboards team comes to do a demo in Orlando, Florida. He catches the eye of Danny Montoya, who eventually starts flowing him Listen Skateboards and invites him on a tour. He also starts getting DC shoes through Jeff Pang. He met Jeff in Florida and Evan said that he's been on DC for 17 years. When Evan got invited on his first Listen tour, his mom was kind of nervous about sending her 15-year-old son on a trip with a bunch of these older pro dudes. But it turns out that Evan Smith's uncle, Mike Speranza, was a sponsored skateboarder by Sims and Tracker. So because he had the experience, he was able to convince Evan Smith's mom to let him go on the trip. During the 2008 financial crisis in the United States, a lot of board companies were unfortunately dropping off, and Listen was having a hard time keeping up. At that point, they were kind of restructuring things to survive, and so they turned Listen into Boulevard Skateboards. They had a super solid team at the time: Rob Gonzalez, Danny Montoya, Rodrigo Peterson, and Tiago Lemos. Right as things were changing with Listen and Boulevard, Evan gets an offer to go ride for Element by his friend Ryan Kingman, who was running the show at the time. At this point in the Element timeline, they were trying to refine themselves and restructure after the Bam Margera heydays. Evan said it was a really cool thing to experience the inner workings of a micro brand like Listen and then move on to see the inner workings of a mega brand like Element. This obviously planted another seed in his brain of watching what it takes to run a company like the size of Element. He spent a lot of years with Element and he put out video parts in their videos like Future Nature, Peace, and also a project called Zygote. During his time with Element, he blew up and he became a household name in skateboarding. He also gets a pro model shoe with DC. In the late 2010s, Element is doing some restructuring. And at this time, Evan said he felt like he had completed his time there. Like their goal together was to rebuild the brand after the BAM days, and he had seen that through. And so he felt like it was a good time to step out and do his own thing. Around this time, he has a brief stint of riding other people's boards, and there's a lot of speculation out there on who he's gonna go with. He even had a couple pro models on Grimple sticks, and so there's a lot of rumors like, is he sticking with Grimple sticks? And then in 2020, in the height of the pandemic, Evan decides it's the right time to start a board brand. And so he partners with Mesa Distribution, the home of Ace Trucks and Pepper Grip Tape, to start distributing the boards. He originally gets Mate and Cody Chapman to join the team, and his friend Thomas Campbell to do some of the introductory artwork. And here is where Uma Landsleds was born. I guess he had a list of hundreds and hundreds of names and he couldn't choose one. And then he talked to his friend Thomas Campbell, who literally just threw out, what about Uma Landsleds? And that's what they stuck with. Evan was a friend and fan of Thomas Campbell and his artwork. They met at their days in Element and remained good friends. Thomas Campbell is a pretty legendary and memorable artist in the skateboard and surf industry. He grew up surfing and skateboarding and he's become a pretty world-renowned sculptor. You'd recognize his artwork from clothing, skateboards, and shoes that he's designed over the years. He's also part owner in Galaxia Records, which has made music for some serious legends, guys like Tommy Guerrero. When he's not busy with all these other endeavors, he also produces movies and he's made some pretty big surf documentaries. The biggest identifier for Uma is definitely the artwork. And for being such a young brand, they've definitely partnered with some big names in the art world. They've done collections with Thomas Campbell, famous Big Brother frontman Dave Carney, Japanese artist Masato Suzuki, Kelly Pelka, Nathaniel Russell, and even Griffin McPartland. Their most recent collection that's in stores now is done by French artist Jerome Berthier, who is currently living in Vancouver, so you know he gets our Canadian seal of approval. In such a short time, they definitely collaborated with some big names. And one of the things they've done very well is the brand cohesiveness is still very clear. Like when you pick up an Uma board, you know it's an Uma board. Last year, they put out their first video, Punch a Hole in the Sky. The video was made by a guy named John Miner. You might remember him because he did most of America's stuff and he used to film Reynolds for so many years. The video was a huge success and it was very well received.
Uma Landsleds just dropped. I'm watching that video. Good little check-in reminding me this whole team is beast.
The video opens with a part by Cody Chapman. There was even a few clips by their newest addition, Roman Pabic. We also see a part from Mate, which is one of our favorites, and it ends with a double song part by Evan Smith. They've also added some new team riders recently, like Trayvon Wade, Leonardo Favaro, and our Canadian homie and Dime affiliate, Leon Chapdelaine. As of recently, Evan has moved back to Pittsburgh with his wife, Mary. He met her while driving across the country at some point. They actually play in a band together called Zinnia's Garden. But you should definitely check out their band in the Spotify link below. And as for the near future, him and his uncle are actually building a rock and roll music venue in Millville, Pennsylvania, which has a population of 976. As you know, we always ask these guys about local shops they love. He said One Up Skate Shop and Radio Skate Shop in the Pittsburgh area. They serve them well. When we asked him about the future of Uma, he said, it's not about the end goal, it's about the ride. Make sure you go out there and pick up an Uma Landsled at your local skate shop. They're such good boards. They're made by Generator, which makes all the best boards. Stay out of the mall, support local. Guys, I'm Levi, this is Shred Shop, connect you to skateboarding, and you just watched the story behind Uma Landsleds. What do you guys think about Uma as a brand so far? Their team is becoming pretty sick, but who do you think they should add to the team? Let us know below. Stay tuned for comment of the week. Oh, we got a spicy one. It's from my frenemy, Sir Gargle Farts 3028. It was on one of our other videos, and he said, no way anyone could look just like the sloth from Ice Age. And then it says, Levi, hold my beer.